A new era dawns to fill the void. An unfamiliar path with a pulse of its own.
3, 2, 1.
Final Encounter Cast. Interesting conflicts, not conflicts of interest.
Typical corporate bullshit.
With your hosts, Nate, Robbie, Chris, Nika, and Callie. FinalEncounterCast.com.
Ready? Get set? Go!
What's up? Welcome to Final Encounter Cast. Thanks for joining us. Twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. Starting at, well, what's supposed to be 1 p.m.
It's 1 p.m. somewhere.
It's like only 20
no,
minutes.
it isn't, actually.
It's only 20 minutes late today. Thanks for joining us and for being patient, guys. Twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. FinalEncounterCast.com. Although this very show will be going through a name change shortly when it becomes the Let's Be Real podcast. 88 episodes.
Do we set to start over from episode 1?
I mean, yeah. Once we have the new branding ready to go, yeah.
Didn't even make it to episode 100.
We gotta get to 100.
No.
You know what?
I mean,
what we can do is we'll go. Let's be real for a while. We'll get to like episode 25 or something. Then we'll do the comic book thing, and we'll switch back to our original branding.
The drop game is back. Fat Princess has to use drop number 22. Good luck.
What the fuck?
Oh, the drop game is back, I guess.
Well, welcome back to the drop game.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Robbie, you're looking like a Harvey Weinstein victim.
Well, apparently what we said on Checkpoint this past week really got to EA, and they're out for me now, so I'm incognito.
Oh, okay.
Hiding out from everything is awful.
Okay.
You're looking at porn?
Yeah.
So first show without Callie. This is one less name I have to remember, which is good.
Well, actually, it's like 6
3.
less names you have to remember.
I mean, well, or 2, something like that. I don't know. Anyway,
He's got like 3 or 4 names spread across like 8 different shows. So
yeah, that's true. Anyway, welcome to Final Encounter Cast. This show's going to be a little bit of a mess for a while, so that'll be normal.
I was going to say
because Callie's not here?
No,
Oh.
just because we're going through, like a name shift and everything.
Yeah, like that's not just necessarily visual stuff. I mean, you heard
Right.
the intros. The intro even still has Callie's dumb name in it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're going to be we're going to figure it out, but it's going to take some time. So this is what you get in the meantime.
I don't like this strange new world that we're discovering.
Are you okay? Are you going to be all right?
Look, it's just
You want to go in the back and rub dickheads?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, okay. Wouldn't that make you feel better?
Okay, me and Nika have the show then, I guess.
All right.
No,
All right,
no,
let's do this.
It's a Callie missing dickhead rubbing, so you got to be a part of it. We need the triple dickhead power.
Well, that's why we decided to set this up so that we wouldn't.
He's here in spirit.
He's here in spirit. We've gone ahead and mic'd up the Dragoon Heavensward promo
Aww.
because we miss him so much.
I mean,
Anyway,
it's already given about as much contribution as he normally does.
that's
so.
fair.
Oh.
That's
Well,
fair.
we should give him like a camera spot on the screen.
Yeah, no, we're not going to do that because that's why Robbie looks like he's a Harvey Weinstein victim. So he's going to go ahead and put the promo back where it should be.
I personally think Robbie looks better in the dark
Okay.
because you can't see him.
Okay. This is going to be interesting to watch him do behind me.
Oh my gosh, you dropped the tinfoil hat.
Oh, my God. I'm ashamed.
God. Don't break Escalia.
It's the only thing we have to remember him by.
Put that on his knob, the spear. Yeah.
On
Well,
his
even though that
knob?
only blocks like half the window, it's still like.
What is... Wait, on his knob?
Yeah, the tinfoil hat. It's like a really shitty condom.
Okay.
Dude, using a tinfoil as a condom would be so fucking painful. You should probably not do that.
That's
Are you
crazy
fucking serious right now?
Well, yeah.
I mean,
do you
yeah,
think
it
about-
would. It would. It would definitely.
Yeah, it'd be awful.
It would definitely be painful. But like, why would you? Where did that thought even come from?
Because I was talking about putting it on the knob,
Okay.
and then The knob is like a euphemism for a dick.
you're the
Nobody
worst.
would think to do that, though.
Yeah,
That's the
no
point. You
no
don't
one's
have
doing
to
it.
tell
I
people
just
not
thought
to.
about that.
No one's doing any of those things.
Would it be worse to just be like normal sex or butt sex? Probably butt sex, I think.
And I
Silence.
certainly don't know what butt hurt means.
You would after that.
Oh my God!
That was not drop 22.
Drop number 22, baby.
Get the fuck out of here!
Suck on that.
Get the fuck out of here! No way.
Number
That-
22.
Good job. Good job.
All right. Well,
hate you.
we've got a lot to talk about today, and
All right.
we've even got a special guest that we're going to talk.
Scully's coming back.
No, Scully is not coming back.
Oh.
God damn! Why? Why?
He was just becoming cool and funny
do you
and
kn-
smart, and now he's gone.
Okay. What did I tell you last week
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
about yelling into the microphone?
Oh.
What are you doing right now?
I was yelling in the mic.
Yeah, you were yelling directly into the microphone.
I was really close.
Yeah.
I need to stop doing
This is why your channel on the board is blown.
it. Is it still blown?
It is. And when you yell like that, it makes it way worse.
So there's different levels of being blown?
If you blow it, that means that you're gay, too.
I would definitely, be a little bit more ginger about that. Just be careful.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I forgot.
Okay. I'm going to
not
forgive
bad.
you. I'm going to forgive you this time.
Really?
No.
Oh.
If that happens again, though, we're getting out the belt.
Oh, he's getting the belt regardless.
Damn it.
Will you do it in the bad way?
Okay. All right. Enough time wasting. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us. We appreciate having you along. Like I said, this show is going to go through a bit of, I don't know, bit of a change.
Transition.
Yeah, a transition now that we don't have Callie. Is that weird?
We need to get our transition
It's a little
quota
bit.
in.
All right. Anyway, so yeah, this show's going to go through a bit of transitional period, and eventually it will be the Let's Be Real podcast. But until then, we've still got all of the stuff that we normally do, and actually, in terms of programming, it's not going to end up changing a whole lot. So, but yeah, we're excited to do that. We'll also have content over at lbrnetwork.com as that starts to grow more and more. And then we've also got Checkpoint Radio, which is it's now on 43 radio stations across the United States and Canada.
Awesome.
And that project is going to continue to grow. So we need to be able to have a home for all of that. And limitbreakradio.com is not really going to cut it. So we're working on lbrnetwork.com and getting that up and ready to go. But that's going to be the home of our new show, the Let's Be Real podcast, the archive of everything for Final Encountercast. I might put the refresh archive on there too. I don't know.
Wow.
We've got a big archive of content to put up and
the
make
biggest
available.
archive.
I know,
The
right?
best.
I don't know about the best, but it's pretty big.
But yeah, we're gonna be working on that, and so we hope that you guys are excited. Stick around. Coming up at let's see, what is that? 2:00 today. 3 o'clock? 3 o'clock. Yeah, coming up at 3 o'clock today, we'll have the replay of the Checkpoint Radio podcast.
Oh, it's a doozy, guys.
And let's say, I don't know, things got a little bit weird.
Crazy?
Yeah.
Messed up?
About what? Can you just give us a spoiler on the topic? How is it weird?
Is
it weird,
do
sexy?
you guys remember the Konami call? Do you guys remember Luke?
Oh, Luke. That's what
Oh, God.
I was
The
gonna
guy
say
from
Jeff.
Konami? Yeah. So I apologized to him on the show.
Oh, you get him again?
No, I didn't get him again, but I apologized for the first call.
Why would you do that?
Because
Are you renouncing Metal Gear Solid?
Because
Your Lord and Savior Big Boss?
I'm not entirely sure that Metal Gear Survive is what we think it is. And I'm not entirely sure that Death Stranding is what we think it is. And if you want to connect those dots, with a little bit of red string. You can join us.
Is that what that tinfoil hat is for?
Yes, it is.
He literally brought tinfoil hats in for all of us to wear.
If you wanna find out, what that theory is, it's gonna be just following this show right here on twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. So all you got to do is just not go anywhere. All right, let's get into the news.
I'm here to do the news tonight.
And that's the way the news goes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this program to bring you important news.
Here's a story that's out of this world.
So we've been reporting on the legal drama surrounding Pokemon Go in Milwaukee since it began last year. As a reminder, Milwaukee County passed an ordinance requiring augmented reality games to obtain a permit along with $1 million worth of insurance to use their
You didn't say that right. You didn't say it right.
Didn't say what right? $1 million worth of insurance to use their parks. A developer...
I like how all it took was just a slight pregnant pause and we were on the same page.
A developer
back in 1990
called Candy Labs put together a lawsuit and got an injunction against the ordinance. They've since come to a settlement which will see the injunction become permanent, and the county will also pay their legal fees of $83,000.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, so basically Milwaukee was trying to be like, oh, you want to use our parks? Then pay us money. And Milwaukee ended up paying money out instead.
Good.
Ha! Take
I
that,
mean,
Milwaukee.
Like, these are
Stupid
public
cheesehead.
spaces.
Thank you.
Like, this is what is so dumb, what is so fundamentally stupid about this argument is that these are public spaces. They always have been. And for these assholes to kind of come in and just go, oh, well,
Now that people are using our parks, we don't want them to.
it means that our park workers are going to actually have to do their jobs instead of sitting around smoking joints for half the day.
Well, I mean, if it's
Not
like,
that there's anything wrong with sitting around smoking joints.
but if
I'm
it's your
just
job,
saying.
you probably shouldn't do that while you're working.
Listen, okay, I got called out on Friday for being high at my job.
Oh, really?
On the air.
No.
You haven't heard that? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that happened.
The Jello Show?
Yeah, the Jello Show.
Yeah.
See, but I didn't even smoke weed. All I did was buy weed to smoke later. And that's what he smelled on me.
So that's some good shit.
It was great shit. Are you kidding me? I smoked it right before I do this show.
Oh, that's hilarious. Speaking of augmented reality, Niantic's first AR game, Ingress, is scheduled to get a major overhaul in 2018. Tilted Ingress Prime, the update will also include everything from art design to narrative and will also be changing the game's underlying technology. This should be reassuring to those of us worried that Niantic's new Harry Potter game may signal the end of the development for Pokemon Go.
This is interesting.
Yeah, you actually checked out Ingress a little bit when Pokemon Go first came out, right?
I did. Yeah.
Enough to play it, or
no, I wouldn't go that far. I would definitely not go that far. I checked it out enough to see what were the commonalities between the two apps, because the data points that they had to use were they had to be the same, or similar, right? And that is pretty much what I found. Instead of walking around and catching Pokemon, you walk around and kind of absorb energy. And instead of having an avatar on the screen, it's sort of just a map. And it's, it is supposed to be more like you're the actual player in this device. And I still have it on my phone. I haven't gotten rid of it. It's kind of cool.
So what do you think are the chances if Ingress is going through this big major overhaul that we could see something similar happen to Pokemon in the future?
That is a good question. I think that we're seeing some changes with Pokemon Go right now that are starting to address some of the more longer term concerns that we've had. They've changed up a lot of the different raid Pokemon. Porygon is now, and Scyther, and some of the rarer stuff is getting.
I always thought that should
cycled
be
in.
something that cycles in and out, so that way it
Metapod.
Yeah,
he was a pretty rare one.
Yeah. Well, but Metapod versus Magikarp. Like, you know what I mean?
At least Magikarp eventually turns into Gyarados.
Yeah, that's at least useful. Metapod is just junk. If anything, it should have been like an Eevee. So you have like a good way to farm like high Eevees.
High Ivy Eevees.
Ivy Eevee.
Ivies?
Ivy.
Is that what they are in this game?
Ivy Eevee.
I mean,
Yeah, there are no EVs in Go. They're just
Well,
Ivies.
I mean, there are EVs, but there are effort values.
What do you mean?
Eevee's a Pokemon.
Oh, God damn it. I fucking hate you so fucking much.
I mean, that's the joke I was making, but I guess it went over his head
I
until...
want to fucking drown both of you in the river.
Jesus.
Hate you so much. You're the worst.
In a blog from... in a blog from the developer...
Fuck off. No, you didn't. You made me angry.
It's been announced that Life is Strange Before the Storm will be seeing the return of Ashley Birch to the role of Chloe.
I wonder why.
Ashley was, of course, one of the most visible victims of the voice actor strike, but it was announced this week she'll be reprising the role in the Deluxe Edition's bonus episode, Farewell. The developer sadly reminded us this is likely to be the last time fans of the series get to see Max and Chloe on screen together.
Politics, man.
Yeah.
Politics.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's something. I actually thought that was going to be like, hey, they're bringing her back to do like a director's cut where you can choose to have Ashley voice instead, but that's probably too much to.
That's too much work.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: is that we got a really interesting perspective about this when we talked to David Hayter for Checkpoint. And that interview, I'm not sure if it's going over the air this week or next week. But I just actually finished editing it yesterday. And, he's got a really interesting perspective. So if you want to hear David Hayter's take on, the specifics behind Ashley Birch, we ask him directly about that situation. So you should definitely check that out. That's either this week or next week over at checkpointradio.com.
Playground Games, who brought us Forza Horizon,
Got to be quicker on that uptake there, Robbie.
He was taking a breath. I got you. He needs to breathe, like we all of us.
He wasn't breathing while I was talking.
He was after breathing.
Can I just?
What's
Can I do the news
It's
story?
when you take the breath out of your body.
Chris, shut up. Just shut up.
I guess you would call that an exhale, wouldn't you?
Playground Games, who brought us Forza Horizon, have announced they're working on something completely different. They're now developing a AAA open-world action RPG and have brought in some impressive names to work on it, including Sean Eyestone from DICE and Kojima Productions, Will Kennedy from Rockstar North, and Juan Fernandez de Simon from Ninja Theory, that guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of talent.
It is. DICE, Kojima, Rockstar, and Ninja Theory.
An open world action RPG.
Yeah.
Metal Gear?
No.
Oh.
I mean,
But no.
who is Playground Games, though? They made Forza?
Yeah, Forza Horizon.
That's a car game, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm really interested because
now, maybe your cars level up and you can equip cool weapons on them and then do damage.
Look, prior to this would be something that I'd look at with a lot of hesitation and a lot of doubt. But when you look at something like Horizon Zero Dawn, which was developed by Guerrilla Games, prior to that, all they had made was the first-person shooter Killzone, which I honestly wasn't ever very impressed with.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point.
Mm-hmm.
Quicker on the uptake there, Robbie.
A 19-year-old gamer wrote a powerful open letter to the video game industry describing his struggles with gambling addiction as it related to predatory microtransaction systems and loot boxes. He describes how over the course of 2 years, he spent over $10,000 in pay-to-win and mobile models for games, going into detail about the addictive tendencies he battled before finally seeking help from a therapist. It's a great and powerful read and one that should remind us just how serious the discussion is.
And the fact that he's 19.
How does a 19-year-old get $10,000 in 2 years? I don't even get $10,000 in 2 years.
I mean, Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
you make way more than $10,000.
You make $10,000 in 2 years from us.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the part of having a syndrome like this, though, is that, I mean, if he's just charging it to a credit card, he might not have $10,000.
I guess that's actually fair.
I mean,
as well.
Or he gets it from mommy and daddy.
His parent, if I had to guess, he probably was one of these kids that ran up a whole bunch of money on mom and dad's credit card like the first year that he went to college. Dude, I mean, like, I knew people that did that kind of shit. Right? Like, didn't we all? We all knew people that did that. We all went to CMU.
Yeah, kinda. I might have kind of done small, similar-ish.
I mean, if you're talking about your refund money, then that's kind of the same thing, isn't it?
Oh, there's that too. But yeah, there was.
You know what I mean?
Like
spending your entire check at GameStop.
There were other. It wasn't GameStop. It was Game Traders.
For
because that makes it better.
It didn't go to GameStop.
Dirge of Cerberus.
Dirge of Cerberus?
No, I bought Dirge of Cerberus new from GameStop. There was a bunch of different stuff that I bought from Game Traders. I know that one of them was.
You still spent money on it.
I liked that game.
I actually didn't hate Dirge of Cerberus just because I'm so bad at shooting games in general, and so I thought that one was, since it's not very difficult. So for me, it was like, hey, I'm playing a shooter game.
He liked it though.
I never
liked it,
but I didn't hate it.
Seriously?
Yes.
It added so much to Vincent's canon, didn't it?
Vincent's a cool guy.
I thought it did.
Fuck off.
He turns into Nightmare and doesn't afraid of anything. Ninja Theory has announced that Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice has now sold 500,000 copies in its first 3 months. This is important, though, because that makes the game profitable, lending credence to the idea that you don't need to go through a AAA publisher to be able to make a profitable game.
I mean, yeah, like that's the thing is that we hear this all the time from the AAA studios is that, it takes so much money to develop it. It takes so much. I mean, does it though?
4 million copies sold and we're still in the red. Failure of a game.
I mean, like let's really think about it. How many games use Unreal 4? Right? Like how many games use the Unreal Engine?
How often do you see...
You're not having to develop engines every time, like...
And how often do even just, like, little fan projects come out that have used Unreal 4? Like,
yeah.
Like, that's all you really need. You don't have to worry about making super advanced Square Enix, crystal dynamic, crazy engine crap.
Well, but that's the thing is that, Square Enix for the better part of 10 years was trying to be...
Always push the envelope.
Yeah, was trying to compete with Unreal and going, yeah, we're developing crystal tools, and everyone looked at it and went, that's shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and as you pointed out before, too, in relation to graphics, we're at the point now where you still have to put in as much work to get to that next level, but it doesn't actually add that much more at this point. So you're spending more and more and more effort for less and less of a return on it. And meanwhile, the other aspects of your game end up suffering as a result.
Well, I'm just saying, like, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice only had to sell 500,000 copies to be profitable. Only. That's it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, wasn't it Resident Evil 7? They said it was a failure because it only sold like 4 million or something.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, listen, and that's the thing. Ryoko bringing up Shovel Knight, and Shovel Knight, of course, takes less assets than something like Hellblade. You know what I mean? Like when you consider the amount of total assets. There's a lot of work that goes into the back end of something like Senua's Sacrifice that you don't have to do with Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight's basically hitbox detection and enemy AI and level design and sprites. That's really kind of it. Whereas something like Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is going more for the vibe and feel that a AAA game achieves. And the thing is that it did it with only needing to sell 500,000 copies before it starts making money.
3 months and it's making money.
Why is that? Why do you think that is? Chad, if you're so fucking smart, you tell me.
Because they didn't spend $600 million on advertising?
I mean, that's part of it. That's definitely part of it. They sold it through word of mouth, and they put it out as a digital download.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't need, and again, they didn't need DLC. They didn't need microtransactions. They didn't need loot boxes.
And you know what? If they now decide to come out with some type of expansion or DLC, people are going to be so willing to buy it because they didn't try to shove anything like that down your throat already.
I'm just saying, how many indie games look like Hellblade: Senua Sacrifice?
Not many.
Is Hellblade even an indie game at this point?
Well,
it's clearly not a AAA.
That then brings it back to exactly what defines indie and AAA. I mean, if EA decides to make a game and they don't spend, $600-700 million on it, and they use an indie budget, is that an indie game or is it a AAA game? Because if it's just money that determines it, I don't know. I don't feel like that's quite the way that they need to be categorized.
I mean, it's as much of an indie game as We Happy Few. Let's put it that way.
That's fair.
We Happy Few is probably development-wise a little bit closer to what
an indie game and a AAA.
No, what Hellblade: Senua Sacrifice is comparative to something like Shovel Knight.
Yeah, right. That's fair.
Or what was the other one? Binding of Isaac. Those are sprite-based games. Yeah. Okay, what we're talking about are games that utilize a full 3D environment to be able to deliver their product. And the argument from the AAA game industry, especially when it comes to the loot box argument, is that, listen, we need to be able to have those kinds of margins to be able to justify that kind of production. And what Hellblade: Senua Sacrifice comes in and shoots a hole into is that whole fucking argument that you need a huge bloated budget to be able to deliver an experience like that. And again, there's great textures and modeling. Okay, that's all well and good. But when your game in 4K is upwards of 116 gigabytes, and the government's talking about clamping down your internet based on how much you download or upload, like let's be honest, how reasonable is it to expect that 4K gaming is going to be viable? It's just not. I don't think it's economically viable except for a very small percentage of people. So this idea that, okay, Xbox One and PlayStation 4, they're all pushing towards this inevitable,
crash,
unsustainable model where suddenly they're like, listen, there's no way to sustain this. Cliffy B was 100% right. But then you've got Hellblade: Senua Sacrifice out there going, 500,000 and we're good. Like, we could walk away right now and be okay.
We got checks. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think, dude, if it continues to sell well, if people continue to buy Hellblade, they're going to get fuck you money at some point.
It's only been 3 months. Yeah, give them a whole year and see where they're standing at this time next year.
I hope they get fuck you money. Because there's someone in the industry that needs to be able to prove that you don't need all of that bullshit to be able to make a product that ends up making money.
Yeah, that'd be nice. People have raised over $4 million for charity playing Desert Bus over the past decade. But now, finally, we get what we've all been waiting for. That's right. Desert Bus VR is here. Whether you have a VR headset or not, the game is completely free, and it's exactly what it sounds like it is. You hop on a bus from Tucson to Las Vegas.
Tucson?
Tucson. Anyway, you go to Las Vegas, and you hit the road at 40 miles an hour. But now,
all of our
VR,
Arizona listeners are just cringing.
Greatest conversation ever.
Wait,
Tucson.
Why are you only going to 40 miles an hour?
Because that's the speed limit, I guess.
Because it's irresponsible for a bus to go faster than 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, haven't you watched Speed?
What do you... Sorry, I had to reboot after that comment. No, everyone goes like at least 65 in Michigan, and there's nothing in between Tucson and Las Vegas.
Tucson.
The people going that fast are breaking the law.
No, they're not. I mean, they're not. But, I mean, they're breaking the programming limits of the game.
Yeah. Look, you can't have this game be too exciting, okay? It's a bus driving game. Wait, is it a bus driving or a bus riding game?
No, it's a bus driving game.
Okay.
You're driving.
Yeah, like if you just sit in a bus as a game, that's
So what was I just yelling at Chris about? About when you're shouting into the microphone, it's really noticeable. That's what you're doing. You're shouting into your microphone. Yes,
sorry,
you
guys.
are.
I'm sorry.
You can hear it. You have headphones.
Man, you're dumb.
Desert Bus is just, he's so passionate about it, though. You can't blame him for that.
Anyway, good on them for raising all the money, though. $4 million for a shitty game to raise is quite impressive. Remember last summer when Scott Cawthon canceled Five Nights
Why
at
are
Freddy's
you
6?
reading our news?
Because the other,
I feel like this is the first time you're reading our news.
It feels like it.
The other option is Juxta reads it. You want to give it a try?
I mean, I could go back to reading it.
You wanna?
We
No.
have a fourth
No, I don't
person
think
in the pseudo room here. We could actually have Nika do something for a change.
Nika.
I would volunteer, but I feel like without being in the room, I would miss all of the cues to actually continue reading.
Well, why don't you here? How about we do an impromptu audition? How about you tell us about what's going on at Five Nights at Freddy's?
Go for it, Nika.
Sure. Remember last summer when Scott Cawthon canceled Five Nights at Freddy's 6?
I sure do, Nika.
Oh, really? And he joked that we might as well try making Pizzeria Tycoon Simulator instead.
I don't remember.
That I don't remember now.
Yeah, why did we think he was joking? His website is now advertising Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, and Scott has assured us he can't let a year go by without releasing a game, so we can expect to have the new game out over the holidays.
Yeah,
That was pretty okay.
Thanks, Scott.
That was pretty okay.
Yeah, it's a lot better than what Kala was doing.
Yeah.
Okay, you can do FEC
No.
news.
You're just gonna have to do it better. In the words of our immortal executive producer Kevin from Checkpoint, you're just gonna have to do it better, Robbie. I'm sorry.
So am I doing the next one now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you have anything to say about Fozzie's Pizzeria Simulator?
Yeah, pineapple on pizza. I see that in the chat. Yes.
No.
Okay, yeah, Nick, you never get to read anything ever again.
No pineapple on pizza ever.
But if you can simulate it and then pass it out to, I mean, I'm trying to figure out. Is it going to be scary? Is it going to be scary
for a horror game? Okay,
yeah,
I get
well,
it.
It's
Five
Nights. Okay.
Yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's is normally like a scary jump kind of game, right?
Yeah. See, I think that's.
Is it a scary pizza simulator, or is it just like with all the characters?
No, I think what it's going to do, because there is quite an elaborate story behind Five Nights at Freddy's, is that I think you're probably going to be taking the perspective of someone who's working the back room or working the kitchen at some point in time in the Five Nights at Freddy's storyline. So it's probably going to give us some insight into the story, continuing the story arc, but just changing the perspective off of the security guard and putting it more on like maybe someone who's working in the kitchen.
You get to make pizzas with body parts.
I don't think it's that kind of game, is it?
Body parts and pineapples.
I mean, I've actually never played Five Nights at Freddy's. So.
I mean, well, it has to.
I don't like the.
It has to do a lot with child murder.
Oh, so it would have.
But why do so many like 8-year-olds play this game?
I don't know.
Parents are irresponsible.
Well, yeah,
I mean, you're a child, Nate.
Because it's always it's like it's more implied than anything, and it's like you don't ever see a fully rendered child's head get torn off or something like that.
Oh, but they get stuffed in the costumes, right?
Right, but that happens in like Atari level graphics, right? So it's not quite as alarming as other games.
It's not actually explicitly stated.
Do you think do you think there are things that, since with an 8-year-old's level of comprehension, that they might miss over that kind of thing? Quite comprehend, or
yeah. I mean, it would definitely, if you're not into the subtleties of what they're trying to do, or like if you don't
8-year-olds have a real hard time picking up on
they don't pick up on subtlety well. I've noticed that. My humor doesn't work for an 8-year-old. But
gotta be about like 12, 13 before they really start to pick up on that kind of stuff.
But the thing is that they also don't really have much of a context for what Atari graphics are trying to represent either. So it's more it's actually a very clever way to aim a core idea or concept in your game at an older audience, because they'll know what it means.
Well, and for younger kids too, just the idea of, oh, I got stuffed into that suit doesn't really necessarily equate to you're dead now.
Yeah, and it still is scary because the jump scares do happen, and the jump scares are mostly with animatronics, so it's like it's not like gory kind of scary.
I feel like adults are more afraid of like clowns and animatronics than children are. Like it just kind of develops over time.
Yeah.
Are you afraid of clowns, Nika?
I'm not.
That
I don't. But
didn't sound
even still, like,
sincere at all.
I mean, like everyone I know, like talks about how when in their childhood they had some kind of like weird experience with clowns that, as an adult, causes them to be afraid with it. And I feel like most, like compared to adults, I feel like there are less children afraid of clowns than adults that are scared of clowns.
That's probably fair.
Yeah.
Because the whatever experience happens in childhood and then builds up.
See, but the thing. What was that?
Sevo Kevo donated $15 for Extra Life.
Yeah, that's the Extra Life donation.
Ah.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thanks, Sevo. By the way, our total, just a hair under $8,000, I think. Just maybe like, I don't know. I checked earlier.
I posted it up earlier. It was 7,465.
Oh, okay, just a hair below 7,500. That's what I meant.
Yep.
Nice. All right.
Three
Yeah,
veterans.
I did my Dark Souls stream.
Yeah, we'll talk to you about your Dark Souls stream, Nika.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm mad at you.
Oh, why are you so angry?
Okay, shush. We'll get there.
All right,
we'll
get there.
3 veterans from Riot Games have announced that they're opening a new TV and game studio called Wonderstorm. The studio will focus on story and play and is already signed on with Netflix to produce an original animated series debuting in 2018.
That's ambitious.
They also have a AAA quality title in development to go along with the new IP.
And yet we sit here and wait for the Overwatch animated thing. Yeah.
I'm making it perfect.
It's.
I believe in our Lord and Savior, Geoff Hoffman. What's his last name?
I'm sorry, what?
Jeff?
Geoff.
Yeah, that's a different way to spell Jeff.
I know what he's getting at. Who are you referencing?
He's talking about, I think, like the CEO of like Activision Blizzard Media or something like that. Yeah. But anyway, look, the fact that they have a deal going with Netflix already, that's pretty cool. But
I don't know. I don't know, man. Have you seen some of the garbage that Netflix tries to trot out?
That's fair.
Look at
And
the
if you look at history, though, how often have they done the whole gaming, TV thing that's worked? The only thing that I can think of is that sci-fi show. Chris, we watched it.
Stranger Things?
No, the one that was also a game.
Deliverance.
No, not Defiance.
Okay.
Now,
Deliverance? Wait a minute. Hang on. Did you just get Defiance mixed up with Deliverance?
I did.
You got a sci-fi show mixed up with where Hicks butt fucked 2 dudes in the middle of a forest.
And that's basically what it was about. That's what I got from it.
Really? Okay, now, Robbie, I now have a litany of questions for you about Defiance.
No, that's not what it's about at all. Remember, this guy also did a quest to become a red mage and was like, oh, so basically we bang everyone. So to him, everything's about butt fucking.
Well, not just butt fucking. Normal fucking, mouth fucking, ear fucking.
Anyway, I never played the game, but everything that I ever saw of it, it was not really that great.
No.
So, no.
I mean, kudos for them for trying.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's doing this kind of thing.
I mean,
do you know anyone else off the top of your head?
I mean, Overwatch could, but
could.
technically, Final Fantasy 15 did this,
and they did it really well.
The anime for it was really good, though.
Nika, stop it.
Nika is a completely unbiased opinion on everything.
Absolutely. How excited are you for this new round of DLC that's going to be coming for Final Fantasy 15?
Really excited.
Are you serious?
Are you really excited you can play as anyone finally after a year of being, out?
I am super excited.
I mean, this doesn't.
I might actually replay all of 15 as prompted.
You don't think that this absolutely proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that we were 100% right when we were like, yeah, Square Enix isn't even remotely done with this game, but they're putting it out and they're selling us DLC.
I mean, yes and no, because the way that these DLCs are coming out, they are very isolated stories from a different point of view with a different style of gameplay. Now, what I believe should have happened is they should not have told the gameplay completely only from Noctis's point of view and then integrated all of this together. However, because they told the game only from Noctis's point of view, if they actually had put all of these pieces into the story, it would have been very jarring. It makes more sense to have it separate. That would have required an entire whole retooling of the game. So.
Let me ask you a question, because the multiplayer is the thing that kind of sticks in my craw.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but do I have to buy anything?
I don't know. I had the season pass. What do you have to buy?
I don't think I bought the season pass because I was like, this is a fucking pile
Especially
of
when you
garbage.
think about it, like the season pass was $25. So far we've got the 3 DLCs about the boys, the random like stuff that was free, and then also the multiplayer, and then they've announced 3 more full DLCs. And when you think about how much content that is, that's actually worth way more than $25.
Yeah, but I mean, is the season pass going to count for the second round of DLC? I think
it better.
No. Get ready, Nika, because there's going to be season 2
season pass. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Season 2 pass. I like that.
If they announce that, I will let you know my feelings at that time. If the season pass still counts for everything, which, when they sell season passes, they always say this gives you all the DLC.
This gives you all listed DLC, and at that time, it was everything through multiplayer.
Did it say up those rights?
If I have to,
I'll get back to you whenever.
I swear to God, if they're nickel and diming all of this shit out, like I'm telling you, this is the worst way.
I'll let you know.
This is the worst way to sell a fucking video game.
You know what grinds my gears most about it is hear about
what grinds your gears, Peter?
Grinds your gears?
What is it, Peter Griffin?
So Square Enix is so notorious, especially recently, of being like, oh my God, this project is so big, we have to take people off of every other project and put them onto this. FF15's been out for a year. It's still not done. They're still churning out content for it. So what's going to be happening to like the FF7 remake, Kingdom Hearts 3, anything else they're working on? When are those going to get
It's
finished?
also promising to look at it this way, though. FF15 came out, and while it had some good reception, it had a lot of issues with it. And so instead of just saying, like, let's just drop it and move on to the next thing.
I wish they would have.
But the thing is that they're delivering their they gave promises and they're actually following through.
11 years later.
Unlike another Final Fantasy dev that we could name, and I'm not going to. They are at least like sticking to this and not letting it just
all right.
And every piece of DLC that's come out has been quality.
I think I see what Nika's driving at, and I would say that comparatively, if you had to compare, the way that 13 did it with 2 sequels, and the way that Final Fantasy 15 is doing it, I kind of prefer the 15 model.
Okay, but hold
if I
on.
have to choose one.
The 13 sequels are completely different games to completely different storylines, new mechanics, and all that. Is there a new story in the 15 DLC?
Only if you count the episodes telling you these little stories about the characters.
Well, yeah, that is what the DLC is. So, the entire game is told only from Noctis' point of view. So if you're not, if Noctis doesn't know it, you don't know it. So these are the parts of the story where these characters are not currently with Noctis, and Noctis had no idea what was happening to those characters. You switch to that character's point of view, and you get to see story that you don't see as Noctis. You have no idea what's happening.
But it's the same timeline, right?
Yeah.
Okay, see, yeah, so with the 13 games, those are at least different stories with different characters.
No. You misunderstand what I'm saying, because what they had to do for 13 is plan a game and then go, do we write the end to be the end, or do we write the end to be a sequel? I know, a trilogy. And you know what? If that's the case, go fuck yourself.
Especially because with the way 15 ends, it really doesn't lend itself to that kind of sequel. So
and that's fair.
They're telling alternate area stories, and they have completely different play mechanics altogether. It is
so you think that's going to stop Square Enix? Look at Final Fantasy X.
No.
Did anyone see a sequel coming there?
But that's
you are not wrong.
Yeah,
you are not.
But I mean, if that's it, listen, we know that Square Enix has to figure out a way to try to continue to make money off of its products. It's not balancing its games to be, driven off of sales, right? It balances its models for developing games off of what it can make off of a secondary market. And so if that's the case, then we know that we're going to have to be, it's going to have to come in some form.
Right.
I would much rather it be in the form of DLC that I can opt out of,
as opposed to either a new game or microtransactions.
Well, even microtransactions, like I draw the line at loot boxes. Loot boxes are shitty because of all of the reasons that we've outlined for the various episodes that we've done them. Microtransactions, a one-to-one microtransaction, I don't really have that much of a problem with, except when it's tied to gear or stats, because I think that that's just pay to win.
Yeah.
And as long as it's cosmetic, I'm pretty fine with it. And then, like, in terms of making a sequelized game, dude, that's so much fucking writing, and that's so much that's an entire dev project, and no one at Square Enix needed to be tied up for 2 more fucking games on 13 after it came out and was a goddamn dumpster fire.
Yeah, especially with like the way that 15 is handling it, that if it came down to having the FF10, FF13 like tacked on sequel or the completely different alternate DLCs the way that it's doing, 15 is handling it much better.
Yeah,
and also with the multiplayer, they have promised that there's actually going to be updates where there's new quests added, that you can actually play as not just your original character, but also like the actual characters from the game. And all of that, I believe, is going to be free editions. None of it's going to be like, pay $5 and get to play as Prompto. Like, it's all going to be added in with the original price.
My point about the multiplayer is that out of all of the DLC that they've added, that was the one thing that felt like, that's pretty core to the experience of all games, and I don't feel like I should have to pay to have access to it.
Well, it would be like, let me tell you, though,
it would be like
how it works.
Well, hang on. No, I don't know how it works, but it would sort of be like if Metal Gear 5 charged an additional access fee, like, hey, another $10 and you'll get Metal Gear Online. I would have had a problem with that. Like, fine, put cosmetic microtransactions into your multiplayer. That I don't really give a shit about. But if you're charging me $10 to get in the door, I'm gonna have to stop.
I see what you're saying. However, the multiplayer for 15 is actually like another episode. Like, it's canon, it's part of the story. You're playing as an original character who was actually a hunter during a certain period of the game, and you're actually finding out what other people were doing while Noctis wasn't there. And it's canon. Like, the story of the multiplayer is canon. So not only is there multiplayer quests you can do, it's kind of like Peace Walker, how you can play multiplayer if you want to, or there's also one-player story missions that are only one player, and those are the story ones. And then there are options to run with AI or to run with real players. So you can actually play the multiplayer alone if you want to, because it's canon to the story of 15. I thought it was really, really, really well done and very fun.
I mean, and that does sound interesting, and it sounds like they justified it well. It's just I still feel like that's too much of a core part of the product to leave off of the initial buy.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind, too, is since it's multiplayer, even though, yes, there is the option to go with AI, you still want people to play it, and by putting another door in front of them, paying to get in, you are limiting the number of people that are going to do it.
That, too, yeah. I think that's actually
true, but there's a ton of people. Like, I could pick the most random ass mission and get an entire full party.
But it won't always be. It won't.
That's true, but that's why the AI option is there.
It won't always be, like in our next story.
Yep. Sony Entertainment and Atlas jointly announced this week that the online servers for Demon's Souls will be shutting down on February 28th.
Wow.
The shutdown will fundamentally change how the game functions, as it would with any Souls game that loses its online compatibility. This should serve to highlight the dangers that come with basing core gameplay features around online play.
And this is exactly what we were talking about. Like, Demon's Souls is shutting down the and I get it. That's a PS3 only game. It was not as well liked, or it's a lot more.
It was pretty well liked.
It was well liked, but it was
not
more
as popular.
As soon as Dark Souls came out, it was like, Nika, you were playing Dark Souls for Extra Life. How many assist signs were people throwing down? Not that many.
I saw maybe 2.
Ever. Right. Yeah,
but
exactly.
I still did see a whole bunch of like ghosts of other people and a whole bunch of messages and stuff. So people are playing. But it's also, I was playing the PC version, which is newer and more accessible. I wonder if I had popped in the PS3 version, how many people would be playing.
I'm going to tell you, because I just played through the Dark Souls PS3 version, like, what was it, a year or two ago?
It wasn't that long ago.
Well, when I played through it, that's what I played it on, because I was like, I want to get the original experience, and I don't want to have to figure out how to make my fucking controller work. And yeah, I decided to go that route, and there's no one playing. There's like 0 people playing, and I it's not surprising that Demon's Souls is the same way.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that after a while, yeah, there's really only like a couple of hundred people ever logging in.
I mean, it is kind of sad, because now, especially if you were one that got to play that and you ever wanted to get that same experience again, you're right, it's gone forever. But then there's also a certain side of it, and I think this is kind of the way that I feel about, back when Final Fantasy XI was actually good, or even back before World of Warcraft suffered the cataclysm. Those are things that I experience now that nobody else ever will be able to. And I think there's some type of value in that.
Yeah.
Persona 5 continues to impress, having now moved over 2 million units since its original release in September of last year. It shows a continuing uptick in sales with each new title, as according to Atlas, the franchise has sold 8.9 million units total.
When you're reading, you got to back off a little bit. Are you not hearing how loud you can be?
Not really.
Really?
Yeah.
You need to turn up your fucking headphones.
I hear you guys.
What headphone number is he on? It's plugged in the back. 2? I think it's 2.
2.
God damn, dude. You're killing me over here.
That seems kind of small. 8.9 million units. Does that just count the mainline Personas? Because isn't the Shin Megami Tensei or whatever in the same universe or whatever?
Yeah, but that's not going to count towards its overall sales.
No? Okay, I guess.
I mean, there's only 5. I mean, there's 5 Persona games. There's a bunch of spin-offs. But listen, it's still a niche franchise.
Yeah.
For as well as P5 did, they don't spend the same amount of resources that someone like Square Enix does.
Yeah, and prior to Persona 5, I don't think I'd ever even heard of the series. So, yeah, it's probably right.
All right.
And for those of you getting psyched up for Monster Hunter World, the PlayStation Plus beta starts next week. The game can be preloaded onto your PS4 starting December the 8th, and the beta is scheduled to go live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on December the 9th. 5.9 gigs of free space will be required, as will PlayStation Plus. Aw. I don't have PlayStation Plus.
Why not?
Why don't you get it?
Because I'm poor.
It was like one of the best deals in gaming for a long time.
I know. I almost did it just to get the Metal Gear Solid 5 was available last month or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost did. Want. Who's going to play this with me, though, if I do?
I mean, I kind of want to get it, but at the same time, though, I don't know. I'll probably check out the beta.
As I say,
the beta, I think, is probably going to be my deciding factor.
You know what? Let's do that, because if we're to get this, we absolutely have to get it together. That's where the most fun in this lies, is playing it with your friends, 100%, hands down.
All right.
I could never get into the Monster Hunter games because I could never handle playing it on a handheld game. So I'd like to try it on a actual TV, because I played it on, what was that? The Wii U? Yeah. And I had a decent amount of fun on that, but I don't have a PS4, so I'm not going to get it.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people actually comparing the way that the FF15 multiplayer works to the way Monster Hunter works.
Ah, crap.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So if you like the format of it, I thought it felt more like Peace Walker, but if you like the format of that, that's how it goes.
No, I don't know. I didn't mind. Cool. I didn't mind Peace Walker. I thought it did. I thought it did.
How you could queue up for it and then have people, but this one also has a matching system rather than.
Well, Nika.
Well, I wonder where they developed that system from.
Yeah.
Nika, would you play this with Nate and I if we did it?
Yeah.
That didn't sound very
Wow,
convincing.
that was a lot of hesitation for that.
Well, I've never played a Monster Hunter game, but if I knew that I would have people to play with consistently and they're friends to play with, I would do it.
No, all right. Well, that's all for the gaming news this week. Back to you, Nate.
All righty. We're gonna talk to our friend Kyle here in a minute.
See, we backed away from the microphones that time.
Yeah, very good. You've got to work on your mic proximity a little bit more.
Even just then on that last story?
No, now you're too far. You're over-adjusting. It's a natural thing, man. You got to be able to hear enough of the room to know when you're too far or too close. So you got to have enough in your headphones to be able to judge that.
Okay, I'll try.
Well, but if your headphones aren't turned up loud enough.
I don't know.
How was I ever going to know that?
I don't
need to
hear
communicate.
The
you need to communicate those
the same way that you guys do. Whenever you're do you guys hear that sound or what's that thing? I never.
Because your headphones aren't turned up loud enough. That's why you never hear them.
Maybe.
Are you hearing more of me through your headphones or through the room?
I've always been able to hear you guys through my headphones.
And not yourself.
I mean, I hear myself, but I'm also in my head, so it's different?
No. It's not as different as you think.
Oh, okay. Well.
If you're hearing yourself in your head, that means that your headphones are not up high enough.
I mean, I hear both.
This is... No.
You need to hear... kind of moron, you know that?
God damn it, dude.
Shut up, Chris.
It's like it's his first time doing this.
Yeah.
No, we've been doing it for 11 years.
Come on now.
It's like it isn't even part of a show for
I know.
nationally syndicated radio.
I know.
Just kidding.
I'm just the Overwatch guy.
You're an embarrassment.
I'm the Overwatch guy.
Anyway. But before we get into that, because we've got Kyle here in just a second, is Nika, you did your extra live stream last night.
My part 2 extra live stream, yes.
And I listened to quite a bit of it. I had it on in the background as I was working on the David Hayter interview. And I have to say, I was pretty impressed with how quickly you took to Dark Souls.
Not cool, man.
Thank you.
We do not compliment Nika.
No,
she is a girl.
She not only did
Fuck
did she get past the Capper Demon, she rang the fucking bell. I mean, you got farther than I think anyone expected.
Okay, hold on. Now, are we sure that she was the one playing and Senpai wasn't off camera somewhere playing?
No, I'm not. I mean,
he gave me a couple tips here and there, but he did. He actually asked, "Can I try this?" Because I wasn't getting it, and I was like, "No, this is my stream." I didn't let him touch my controller.
I have to say she did very well, and there were.
I didn't expect to do as well as I did, honestly.
So Nika, I have to ask, after being so hesitant to play Dark Souls for so long, what do you think?
I had a lot more fun with it than I expected to have, I will admit. I'm still not sold on like the world or the lore just because it doesn't really tell it to you. You have to pick it up. And I think what I've discovered while thinking about it is that because the game itself requires so much patience to play, and I do have enough patience, I think, to actually, because I mean, I think part of it comes from the fact that I raid in 14, the MMO, you know, so that to me, I have that level of progression patience. Like I wipe, I start over. Like I have that patience, but that takes so much mental energy that I also don't have the mental energy to then sit and read every item description and talk to every single person and like and find all of that lore. Like I've expended all of my energy on the game to be able to go back and also find the lore. And I'm really enjoying the battles and I'm really enjoying the exploration. I think both of those things are done very well and I'm enjoying the heck out of that. The story and the actual like world that it is though has not like pulled me in, but I still think it's an enjoyable experience.
It's not. I don't think it's supposed to, especially on your first playthrough.
Yeah, that's what people were saying, is that most people will play it again and then start to pick up little things.
And yeah, that's really it. Is that I think Dark Souls, if nothing else, is sort of like gaming meditation, right? Like you're doing it's learning by repetition. But at the same time, like, you know, forcing you to learn. And the game really lends itself to replaying. And as you continue to go, like, you do notice different things because you can take different paths.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's, I think, where a lot of the fun has been. And then it's sort of been like, you know, everyone sort of plays through Dark Souls their first time and they go, that was interesting. I'm not sure what I just watched, but that was, you know, it
that
was
is how
fun.
I feel. I just don't know if I would play it a second time, honestly. Like, I'm enjoying it because I think it's new and the like exploring the world is fun. Like, oh, here's a new place. And I just don't know if once I've done it all, if I'd want to do it again. And I also don't see me playing this off stream. I think I'm going to play the entire game streaming. I don't. So like, to me, that was fun. Like being able to talk with people who had done it before, and them either like secretly like hiding things from me and waiting for me to figure it out, or like giving me tips here and there. I feel like that's a lot of fun and the engagement with that. But and I'm having fun doing it. But I don't see me playing it a second time through.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair.
Have you beaten the game yet, Nika?
No, apparently
she's about halfway.
They were saying that even like exploration wise, I've maybe only covered not even half of the map.
Not even half.
I've found like a lot of areas. I was like, I honestly thought that the game was a lot shorter than they're saying that it was, and I was like, I feel like I've explored so many areas and already defeated so many bosses. I'm like, how much more of this is there? And like, yeah, there's probably like 25 more hours to go at least.
Yeah.
Depending on how much you wipe. I was like, oh.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Well, I want to encourage you to keep playing it because I think it's been one of my favorite game series over the past 5 years.
Yeah, I definitely will. I think I'm just gonna keep it on stream because I think it'll be hard for me to sit and do it off stream, but I'll definitely beat the game.
So if you're not into the idea of repetition, and you're not into the idea of going back and replaying, what I would recommend is after you finish, look up a series of videos called, I think it's called Prepare to Cry. And they go through and they kind of summarize the game and then some of the character arcs in there.
Yeah, I would be very interested in doing that. That way I can read it and watch it.
It's a game series that has such a great creative community around it, and that sort of needs it, because I was the same way. Like, I played through it once and I was like, that's cool, and then I watched a lot of these analysis videos and I was like, oh shit, that was not my read of it. But then the thing is that watching your stream, I was like sitting there going, oh man, do I want to fucking play Dark Souls right now? You know what I mean? Like, you'll get the itch to start playing it again. And I think that's why I look forward to From Software games so much. Ooh, that's a low-flying plane.
Those motherfuckers.
What a dick. Anyway, congratulations, Sneaka. What's your personal total sitting at right now?
My personal total is at, my thing didn't refresh. Let me tell you in like 2 seconds. 1,575.
Very good.
My goal was to get 1,800 last night. I didn't get that, but I think I'll stream it again sometime, probably next week, and see if I can get to 1,800.
And then we've still got Robbie. You've got
another 24 hour to do. I'm sitting at
another 24.
Yeah, I've done 2 12s, and I'm going to do another 24.
Oh wow!
And you still got yours to go, right, Nate?
I do. I'm still picking a date over the holidays, but I'm also kind of working on another Extra Life effort, maybe for Checkpoint Radio. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see
what happens.
Yeah, I'm getting it's an ambitious pitch, but I'm getting more yeses than nos. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But I'm going to try to solidify a date. I'll get a schedule out to you guys. But yeah,
please look forward to it.
We'll have more about that. All right. Do we have Kyle ready?
Yeah, he should be on the line.
What's happening, Kyle?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, man. Welcome to what will eventually be the Let's Be Real podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So the reason that I had you on, the reason that I asked you on is that, first of all, I wanted to issue a pretty genuine apology to you. Because at some point, we talked a lot over Twitter back and forth, and I had mentioned this on the last show that we did. We used to talk back and forth a lot more over Twitter and stuff like that, and then the GamerGate thing happened, and I feel like that was a bit of a not just it wasn't like a breakdown in our relationship, because it's like we've hung out since then, and it's not like we're not cool. But I do feel like there was, there was a bit of a division,
a fracture
between the two of us. Yeah. So I mean, I wanted to first, apologize for my own dickish behavior, in that equation, because I was definitely being a dick. But I also thought that this would be an interesting time, now that we're 2 or 3 years removed from it, to actually kind of
like 3, surprisingly.
3?
Yeah, we just tripped 3.
Holy shit. Now that we're 3 years past it, I think that it's an interesting thing to kind of go back on. And because we were on different sides of the debate, kind of talk about, the less emotional aspects of it, and more, as time has kind of shown us, a bit more factual based discussion. So appreciate having you on, man.
Thank you for having me. It's definitely a conversation I think we need to have, especially in the current climate we're in.
Oh boy.
And hopefully this could start mending some bridges between the true groups.
Yeah, because okay, so for those that aren't really aware about what the hornet's nest of GamerGate is, I'm not going to bother contextualizing it for you, because I'm going to have to leave it on you to sort of read the various different sources that exist out there, because again, I come at it from a bit of a biased perspective, because I was kind of involved in the discussion around it. So So that being said, let's kind of all operate off of the common context, because we all lived through it, that we all kind of know what GamerGate is. We don't have to bother explaining who Zoe Quinn is, and we don't have to bother explaining, what why people were saying but it was actually about ethics in games journalism. You know what I mean? Like, we all kind of get what happened. So I just sort of feel like I wanted to talk as humans, as gamers, as people who, were there when it happened, and just kind of look back on it and sort of figure out what it was all about. So if you need to do the research, pause this episode, come back to it. I don't know, whatever you got to do, and do a little bit of research to figure out what GamerGate is, and then come back for this discussion. So I do agree with you, Kyle. I do think that this is a very important discussion given our current climate, and so much of what I heard at the time, and this is not necessarily from you, but so much of what I heard at the time was, well, I don't want politics in my video games. And which was a very childish response to a very complicated and nuanced problem. And I think now, 3 years removed, being a little more mature and a little bit more adult, like, why that point of view is kind of invalid, because games don't get to exist in a bubble outside of politics. Games are part of life, and therefore politics is a part of life. We can't, separate the two. So, from I guess that's from my perspective where I'm coming from. Was that something that you also heard around the same time, Kyle?
Yeah, most certainly. It's one of those. GamerGate was a very interesting problem because it began, as you said before, the Zoe situation and all that jazz. But then what really fired it off was the Gamers Are Dead articles, which came out about a couple weeks later after the Quinn stuff died down.
Oh, I forgot about that.
After all that went down, and after we saw about 12 different websites reporting the same exact thing, everybody went, wait a minute, that's really odd. Why are all these websites within a 24-hour period posting the same exact thing? So that really what kicked GamerGate off into motion was that event.
Well, and the problem is that, the concept, the idea that it's about ethics in games journalism was not something that was ever lost on me, and was actually a sentiment that I very much agreed with. Like, anyone who's been consuming game media for any amount of time knows how fucked up this game is that we play, of either trying to get review copies so that we could beat other people to the punch, or, trying to get exclusive interviews and having to sign a whole bunch of NDAs and all of this other bullshit. We've known for a long time, at least going back to goddamn GamePro, that reviews are suspect, and that a game can get very high review marks but actually be a completely shit game. So I felt like that argument, especially at that time, held, lost the moral authority to make it after coming in the wake of something like Zoe Quinn. And I understand why Zoe Quinn's, why that kind of exposed the behavior that is fucked up. And I do agree that behavior is fucked up. But then that gets kind of thrown into the same pot and conflated with someone like Anita Sarkeesian, who really didn't have much of a dog in the fight overall than an opinion that was mostly rooted in third wave feminism. And like, her entire media project was something entirely different, and then it got rolled into this whole conversation. And that's where things started to get obscured, where you got, oh, well, it's about ethics in games journalism. And over on the other side, you had, well, but look at all of these fucking women in the games industry that no longer feel comfortable working in their industry, in their field.
Well, Sarkeesian, I think the incident with Sarkeesian that came up, I think she was scheduled to speak at Ohio State regarding what you talked about. And apparently she received some sort of threats. Those threats were investigated by the Ohio State Police. They were deemed as non-credible, but she canceled anyway. And around the same time as when the Damage for Dead articles came out.
Right.
So that's kind of how she got lumped into the whole equation, unfortunately, which is...
Because the view of GamerGate as it evolved was sort of like an anti-women's movement or a pushback against feminism or women in the game industry, and I think that was also a pretty unfair misnomer to label that idea as centralized around. I don't think that it necessarily was. But there were so many people obscuring that point that, listen, this is messed up the way that, stories proliferate around games and in the games journalism field, that it almost made it a parody of its own point.
Definitely. That's exactly what that was. And it kind of evolved a lot. Like, the original thinking was ethics in game journalism, but as GamerGate grew and more research was done, and more digging was done, and it was basically a bottomless pit. Every time you hit something, the chasm just gets bigger. And what we ended up finding out was, well, it was less about ethics in game journalism as it was a ideological war against the so-called radical left.
I like the way that you just put that, how it's basically been this bottomless pit, because anyone listening right now who maybe didn't pause to go do the research, who's just listening here, just got 3 different stages of what GamerGate was supposed to be. We don't want politics in our games. Oh, we want ethics in games journalism. Oh, now we're going to dox and send death threats to all the women in games. Like, the whole thing, honestly, from start to finish is pretty messed up.
And the thing is that, you'll get a lot of people even now who are like, well, the doxing and death threats didn't happen. They did fucking happen. They did. They absolutely happened, because I got death threats. I got death threats in my own. You're
posting on Twitter or something, right?
Through Twitter, I got 4 death threats, and I had at least 2 people call my work at that time.
Wow.
Jeez. Now,
really?
Yeah, fortunately, I worked at NPR, and they knew very much about the story, and I was like, there are people trying to harass me to get you guys to fire me, and they were like, well, we're absolutely not going to do that. But, when it's an individual, even, dude, I'm not verified on Twitter. I have a modest audience. I don't have a gigantic audience, but when all I do is, speak out about some fucked up shit that's going on, and I get fucking, death threats, and I get people calling my work, like, dude, like,
that's some concerted effort right there.
It is. And that shit happened a lot, all the fucking time.
Yeah, the one that I remember that kind of, really jumped out at me the most was when someone had asked Felicia Day what she thought, and she just said, I got no opinion on it, and they doxed her anyway for not having an opinion on it.
I mean, I think that was a lot of the behavior that made people either walk away from GamerGate that were initially, supporters of the idea that, we do need a more open and free game journalism source. And then people started to jerk themselves off and think that, I'm going to make a Twitch channel, so I'm going to make my own home for game. And that's sort of like, that's kind of how we get the current environment that we do. Because you're right, people don't trust GameSpot, people don't trust IGN, but they make pretty good content. But that's starting to be democratized. Now you've got, MatPat making very good content. You know what I mean? You've got streamers that are able to make, radio shows and share their opinions. And so that's sort of, I sort of feel like at least Twitch in some way was a bit of a reaction to GamerGate. And not a wholly good one either. Kyle, you got any thoughts on that? I feel like we're not giving you a word
totally
in edgewise here.
I'm thinking everything. Effectively, what it did was it created two very fractioned groups of people. It created people that were wholly against GamerGate, bought into the narrative that it was all about harassing women and female game developers and journalists and everyone else, and it was just so abhorrent to behold. And then you have another camp that's like, no, there's an ideological push coming into our industry that doesn't need to be there or doesn't need to be forced. And then you have people in the middle like, can't we fix this rationally? And the people in the middle cannot have a voice, especially in the climate they're in. You're either for or against the idea. And if you dare to mention a dissenting opinion, regardless of what side you're on, that's where you get the doxing. That's where you get the harassment. And for the longest time, you couldn't even have a conversation about it without fear of someone jumping down your throat.
You know,
or
that's
jumping on your
exactly
Twitter.
why I stayed totally silent during it. I was like, I can't handle.
You know, here's one of the issues that I have, Kyle, and since obviously you mentioned there's two sides to it. There's the people who were all about harassing, women in whether it was journalism or the game developers, and that's not what the idea was originally about. But they co-opted it for their cause, and there were some people that still wanted to stay attached to that because what it started out as obviously, really meant something to them. But at what point, when people like what you see in the alt-right start to co-opt your idea, when they start to take your identity and it's starting to take hold, it's passing off, people look at GamerGate and they go, that's all about abusing women. At what point do you then like give up? If you imagine anyone, and I'm sorry to draw this parallel, but it's just the first one that popped into my head. But if you're you're one of these people out here wanting to protect yourself and your rights and your culture and stuff like that and blah blah blah, and you're going around doing what you can, and then the next thing you know, the guy next to you is doing Nazi salutes and handing you swastika armbands to put on. Like at what point, when people start to co-opt your cause for something evil, do you step away from it?
That is literally the most difficult question about this entire thing. It's a lot of the issues that came about with harassment and doxing is that for the longest time, GamerGate tried to self-police. They actually had a specialized group on Twitter that would mass report bot accounts that were doxing or were harassing other people to try to get them banned. But that unfortunately fell through because it wasn't generating any goodwill because no one was reporting on it. And B, it was just so large that it was very difficult to actually maintain. So at the same time, it's really, at one hand, if you walk away from, oh, this is too toxic, I gotta go, is that sacrificing your own point of view, even though you believe that the original cause you're fighting for is right? Or does that make you, stronger for sticking in because even through the shenanigans and the bullshit, you still stuck by the cause you originally fought for?
Well, I think that line becomes very clear when the people that you're arguing with are also arguing points like that white genocide exists. Like I think that's the point where I was like, oh, it's very clear where these lines are drawn. And so you end up drawing those same kind of lines around the people who are arguing those same points. And I understand that, again, this is nuanced and that there were people who, for them, it was not about harassing women and were absolutely mortified at some of the shit that got sent to people like Brianna Wu and Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn. I get that. But at the same time, I also understand how people would see that and go, this is not for fucking me. And this is not what I signed up for. And eventually that's sort of what ended up killing the argument. And in the end, those articles almost ended up being right. Like those articles about the death of the gamer almost ended up being prophetic. And the subtext of those articles, guys, I have to say, is the breakdown of tribalism, which is actually something that we're actually seeing right now. If Donald Trump has done nothing for us as a country. He has gotten us to start talking to each other again from outside our little circles and boxes that we've put ourselves in. And we put ourselves into them. That's not anyone else. Someone else can come in and go, faggot, and put you into a box. Okay? But these are boxes that we put ourselves into, whether it's goth, whether it's juggalo, whether it's punk, whether it's fucking metalhead, whether it's hip-hop head, whether it's, and a lot of these fall along interest lines, whether it's gamer, whether it's a movie buff, whether you're a hipster, whether you're all of these different groups, that's all fucking tribalism. And all of this shit is tribalism breaking down. And that's really what I saw Anita Sarkeesian as, is one of the first breakdowns of that tribalism. Because here's someone who's a feminist and a scholar who has an interest in video games, is trying to combine the two. And look at the firestorm that she absolutely accidentally walked the fuck into.
Well, to be fair, a lot of her opinions were really bad.
That's fine. That's fine. Guess what? It's the internet. You're allowed to have shitty opinions.
Absolutely are.
You know who else has bad opinions, Nika?
Everyone. Literally everyone. Whatever happened to the whole saying, opinions are like assholes? Everyone has them and they all stink.
Unless you bleach it.
Okay.
You still have one and it still probably stinks.
Then it smells like bleach.
It doesn't stink as much, and sometimes I want to put a tongue in it, but that's different.
I hear that's standard nowadays.
Listen, analingus.
But not with tinfoil.
Listen, I don't know how we got here, but analingus, let me tell you, that's a trend among the kids.
Coming back
you don't want to give them your marriage hole. You want to give them your, you don't want to give them your forever hole. You want to be able to give them
the temporary hole?
No, the bleached chocolate surprise.
Okay, anyway, going back to this idea of...
I think bleaching is supposed to remove the chocolate surprise.
Well, no, but the chocolate is like, it's got a chocolate gooey center.
It's not supposed to. That's what the bleach is for.
You're right, it's not supposed to, but every once in a while... it happens.
Going back to your point about tribalism. You don't want to hold on
anal bleaching?
Nope, I sure don't. Do you
want to know if I bleach my butthole?
No, I don't.
No, none of us want to know that.
Do you have a recommendation on bleach?
I mean,
brands?
I do.
Stop.
Because some of them are really harsh.
Yeah, I was just going to use like the store brand to save a couple bucks.
Shave first.
Shave?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I've heard like stories of shaving your butthole that just like ends terribly. What?
Nika looks so bored and angry.
Nika?
I refuse to be part of this conversation. Robbie, what were you about to say?
This episode is going to be titled Your Forever Hole. I want you guys to know that. Going back to what you were talking about tribalism, right? Now, obviously, yes, in some cases, stuff like that can be very detrimental. But when you break it down into some of the ones that you did, movie buffs, right? Or when you like certain types of music, like we can still exist within those, but still outside of those as well. Each of us as people are probably, firmly rooted in several different tribes.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the thing, though. But when we get pushed outside of our own tribes, whatever 3 or 4 tribes we ascribe ourselves to, punk, Democrat, liberal, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, there are so many different categories that we can put ourselves into. But the thing is that, we're having to go to work every day with people that we didn't grow up with that won't give us, the freedom to like be ourselves, man. And nor should they have to, really. There is a definite line. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, we all graduated college and went, oh, dude, I got to stop showing up in fucking makeup and fishnet arms for work. And we had to lay the goth shit in our fucking closet and go, well, that's over. And for some of us, we do that less because, it's not a big deal if we wear an X-Men shirt to work or, a Flash shirt. And there's plenty of clothing companies and apparel companies that are willing to come in and serve that need that go, okay, yeah, you're growing up, but you still want to wear cool shit. Fine, we gotcha. But the thing is, though, is that the breakdown of tribalism is happening on every level, and it's sort of like, I don't want to co-opt the term because our gay friends have had coming out of the closet for a long time, but like, dude, there is this whole like being honest with yourself process that happens where you're like, yeah, okay, like I like punk rock, but I also like to go to hip hop shows too. And like for some people that can be incredibly uncomfortable, and they cling to those things like security blankets. They cling to those things that they identify, that self-identification, like a life raft, whether it's gamer, whether it's punk. There's like one little thing that you always fucking cling to. And for me, for a long time, it was either my musical taste or, you know, like whatever that fucking self-identity is. That's really the breakdown of tribalism, and going, well, I am that, but I am also these other things, and I'm not defined by that one characteristic. Listen, we've been reinforced with this kind of thinking for probably as long as most of us have been alive. Fucking PCU, Clueless, Revenge of the Nerds, you know, High Fidelity, SLC Punk. All of these movies put us into this box and then say, this is your box, and now you have to clash with the other boxes.
I think, see, that's where the problem is, because there is nothing wrong with being put into these tribes or self-identifying with these tags, but you're right, there are certain people that when push comes to shove, get offensive about it. You mentioned how Anita Sarkeesian, you know, feminist, scholar, and she's a gamer. A lot of people looked at that and goes, whoa, no,
you're not a gamer. You can't be a gamer.
You can't be all those things in a gamer. And it was like the fuel that you know was sparked the fire, basically.
Kyle, you can jump in here if you want.
No problem.
You don't have to wait for my cue either. You could just jump in.
No problem. So with the Sarkeesian thing, I mean, let's be honest, I'm not a fan of her either. Sorry. I mean,
because it turns out she doesn't play half the games she says she plays. That's my issue with her. She has these opinions because of what other people tell her to have. And for me, if I want to look for a feminist icon in gaming to like look up to, or to, you know, I kind of want to know that she is actually forming her own opinions and that she actually has what's best for women in mind. But her opinion on Bayonetta will forever stump the hell out of me. So
and that's
I
can't follow that.
And that's fair. That's totally fair. That's a fair fucking opinion based on like, oh, she got that wrong.
You don't think that people have those opinions of us after watching a few of our shows?
I mean, come on. Like, there's more than a few things that we've gotten wrong.
She was so visible as a feminist icon in gaming that, like, and with her Kickstarter and everybody.
That's not her fault.
I mean, I know, but everybody wanted her to be that person that we could follow, and she didn't become that, and that's
fine. That's fine. But like Lloyd in the chat going, Anita's a shit stain. Why? Why is she a shit stain? And like that's the visceral reaction of and a lot of this came from going like, listen, gaming has a problem with women, and it's not gamers, and it's not just the industry, but in marketing and the way that games are designed, yeah, there's some fucked up shit that's going on here. For every wrong opinion that she had, she also did have some fucking valid points, and it was shit that I had noticed. Oh, hey, why is it that EverQuest has to put the half-naked blonde-haired, fucking mage on the cover of their shit, and, like, that's what they think is going to sell? Okay, I mean, I guess, but, like, it was, like, when you looked at that and it was the same amount of shit over and over and over again, because, yeah, that was sort of the trope, is, like, put the hot, drawing of the chick on the front of the cover, and you're going to sell 1 million copies. And for a while, that fucking worked. It actually did fucking work. And the conversation is, I think, the point about Sarkeesian that is important, because for all of the shit that she got wrong, she also forced a very important conversation in the macro terms.
And this is the message that I think you have to take away from this, everyone, Nika included, that wants to just be like, oh, well, Anita Sarkeesian, was a shit stain or she's wrong about stuff, is you don't have to be one or the other. You don't have to be painted as a villain or a hero. People can have opinions that are right and that are wrong. You can both agree and disagree with things.
And also, dude, people can't control how their product is received. Like, obviously, everyone who wants to make a product wants to make it successful. But when she started her Kickstarter, I don't know what the fuck her goal was, but, you know, when she tripled it, quadrupled it, made it 10 times over, and then people are sitting around with like, yeah, well, she didn't release every video that she said she was going to. Ooh, that's embezzlement. Like, dude, you gave her your money over GoFundMe, which, you know, if you read the fucking agreement, like...
That's her money.
After unlocking the amount of the visible, you know, as visible of a shitstorm as she did, dude, I do not blame her for disappearing. I do not blame her at all, one iota, for disappearing after that whole thing, because, dude, it was a mess. It was a complete and utter fucking mess.
But there's something to be said about the transparency of shit like Kickstarter and GoFundMe. Like, if you say your money is going to be used for this, it better fucking be used for that. Like, what did she do with the rest?
Okay, how many indie games have not? Okay, Mighty Number 9. You know, how many Kickstarted games have like not even met the bare expectations?
Oh, but a lot of them get torn to.
Most of them don't even come out.
Yeah, and a lot of times you see articles about that. But yeah, I agree. I think that...
Yeah, articles, but like people aren't getting their fucking money back.
The inherent dangers of things like Kickstarter and GoFundMe is nothing new, but when they happen, people always act like they're so surprised that they got swindled or cheated out of something. Yeah. You should have known this going in. Yeah. It's a possibility.
Right. Yeah, giving your money to something like that is always, you know, like an honor system, a faith thing. You have to know what you're fighting for.
Does it suck? It sure does, but stop acting so surprised.
Right. No. And that's the thing is that, you know, people entering into the you know, like Patreon with us or with Jim Sterling or anyone else, like it's the same fucking thing. We're responsible for that, not Patreon. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like, fine. If you didn't like her videos, that's fine. If you didn't pay for them, shut the fuck up. As far as I'm concerned. This is a really weird tangent because, as far as I can tell, she didn't even really have that much. She was more tangentially involved as a distraction to this whole point. Mm-hmm. Because, again,
definitely.
The point of the conversation, you know, taken away from things like, you know, harassing people and, you know, some of the bad behavior that went on. The point was to drive a conversation.
Having the right to a wrong opinion is okay. But even if your opinion is wrong does not mean others needs to be aggressive or lash out at you because your opinion is wrong and you need to lose a friendship over it.
Jesus, Melville. Getting paid by the word. Listen, I agree with the sentiment, but that's what painful conversations do. And that's why I was criticizing I don't want politics in my games argument, because you can't avoid this kind of shit.
Always been in games.
Yeah. I mean, going as far back as a game having an opinion, or even if you really want to go
every Final Fantasy game ever.
Talk about the ESRB formation. Like, games and politics are intrinsically linked because games are media and politics is involved so heavily in our media that we can't separate the two.
I totally agree. The whole notion now if we don't want politics in games is so misguided, I guess, is the way to put it. The bigger problem was partly that, but also the whole idea that there was a group of people trying to push their agenda and their ideology into the gaming sphere forcibly instead of letting it happen naturally.
Right.
And a lot of people take note of that, and I was like, hold on. Let's take a minute and back this up a little bit. What are you trying to do, and why are you doing this?
Yeah, and I think that those are all fair questions. And, you know, if we're going to be adults about this, and if we're going to have, you know, if we're going to be the grown-ups in the room, because we are, I mean, I don't know about any of you guys. I'm 33. It's not counting down, okay? That if we're going to be the adults in the room, that we should be able to talk about this like adults. And that, you know, getting bogged down in a whole bunch of side bullshit is really just tangential to the point. Because, listen, you can't remove politics from games. If you do, then you have Wolfenstein, where you're killing representations of a potential Nazi regime. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that our politics are at such extremes to where people are complaining about, oh, well, you're killing Nazis in this. Oh, well, Far Cry 5 is really offensive. Like, okay, fine. But those creators have a point of view, and they're allowed to pursue that all they fucking want. So,
Definitely.
So, you know, that whole backlash has really just unlocked the amount of stupid that is involved with the conversations. But, you know, I think the most sensible points that I heard always centered around the ethics in games journalism points. So, Kyle, do you have a finer point to put on that?
Oh, sure. I think a lot of the ethics in game journalism is to separate your own personal ideology from objective-based content, let's say like a review or a news report, because a lot of the websites posting this content now is usually interlaced with the writer's own personal opinion about something that should be as simple as this game came out, or something more objective saying like, this game, I disagree with the concepts in this game because of these ideological views rather than the gameplay itself.
So,
and we're seeing that pushed more and more recently, and people are beginning to get a little tired of it, because reviews on a basic level should be buyer's guides for a product. Like, is the game good? YN.
So let's talk about some of the forces that enable something like this to happen, because I think that that's really important to understand. Is that, you know, the way that games journalism was working before Twitch, because I think that you've got to look at this before Twitch and after Twitch. There's two different ways to be able to separate this.
BT and AT.
Before Twitch, you had a lot of gaming publications, gaming blogs, IGN, GameSpot, Game Informer. You know, you had your G4s of the world. That, you know, these places were sometimes somewhat associated with, you know, with larger media organizations. But the way that each of those projects was able to fund itself was through advertising. And what were they advertising? They were advertising the games that they were supposedly criticizing. So what happens when you bite the hand that feeds? It stops feeding you. So what?
GamerGate.
Say that again?
GamerGate with GameSpot.
So go ahead. I don't actually know. I'm assuming that you're talking about Jeff Gertzman.
Yes.
Okay. So I remember this, but you sound like you can give it context.
Sure. Basically, Jeff did a review for Kane Lynch 2 back in the day. Yeah, that's a long time ago.
It's a really long time ago.
Yeah. But effectively, if you look at GameSpot while the game was about coming out a week before, there were ads everywhere for this thing, sidebars, loaders, animated ads everywhere. And then the game finally came out. He didn't take kindly to it. I forgot what the actual score was, but it was rather low.
It was bad. It was a shit game.
And Jeff lost his job over it.
Wow.
And is the reason why Giant Bomb now exists, because Jeff basically backed everything up and made Giant Bomb.
So let's, by the way, both of those companies now owned by CBS. So it's kind of a wash. Doesn't even really matter. So, all right. So if that's a problem, and I was able to identify that problem at 12, 13 years old, after consulting a game pro, going, oh, this sounds like a game I'd like to buy, going out and buying it and going, oh, that's a complete and utter garbage piece of shit, and then returning it for a quarter of my money.
Aww.
Right? So you only need to do that a couple of times before you go, well, I don't trust this bullshit again. And then, you know, the internet started to come out, and you had, you know, IGN, and you had forums and GameFAQs, all different manner of ways to try to find who, you know, to trust for selling games. And, you know, GameSpot was one of them, IGN was one of them. You had these big breakout websites. And then you had the Kane and Lynch incident, and people started to question it. And so again, this is a well-documented problem. It's been a long-standing problem in the gaming world and predates Gamergate by quite a bit. All right.
Does. Like, Gamergate was more of a powder keg that was just growing of all these different issues that have been going on, and the Gamers Are Dead was kind of like the match.
So this is all kind of around the same time that G4 was unraveling and not really getting the financial support ad-wise that it needed to be able to prop up the business. And, you saw G4 go down. You saw a lot of these larger blogs start to consolidate and start to move their talent around. Destructoid, Escapist, a lot of these kind of secondary sites that people were going to. I think Escapist got absorbed by Smosh at some point. There's like a whole bunch of absorbing that goes on in this period. And then
last time I read, I think Escapist is like done. I don't think outside of
is
Yahtzee,
it really?
I do not think there are any active staff at Escapist for like weeks.
That's not that surprising because they fucking shot themselves in the foot. Anyway, this gets us now to that's sort of like the early Twitch era, and now we're post Twitch, right? Like Twitch is a normal thing that everyone does from their second bedrooms, whatever.
And if you want to know what a game's like, go watch these actual gamers play the game. That seems perfect, doesn't it?
Exactly. Now, but there's a problem, though.
What's the problem?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I see more than a few people that we even know doing sponsored streams.
Oh, no.
Which means that, that's the game development company coming in and paying someone to stream their game.
Yep.
And,
being corporatized the same way that everything before it was also corporatized.
And wouldn't you know it, when someone comes in and pays you money to play their game on your stream, wouldn't you fucking know it, it comes with some stipulations.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, I was going to say, if they're just paying you to play it, it depends on if they're paying you to say how good it is.
If they're paying you to play it, you can guarantee one of those stipulations is you can't say anything bad about it.
Now, that's the thing, is that if you're someone like, It's Me JP, or if you're someone like Lyric, you might be able to leverage around that and go, that's an interesting offer there, Clash of Clans, but I don't think I want to sign an agreement that says I can't say anything bad about your company. Yep. But enough people have to where now it's shifted off, the onus has shifted off of these unethical, quote unquote, game journalism sources, and has been democratized out into the world of Twitch.
And while it's nice when people let you know that it's a sponsored stream...
Oh, well, no, they have to now because of the FTC.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they do have to.
They have to now, but they didn't for a while. They have to now. Yeah. That creates... I mean, it just seems like we've moved the football.
That's all that happens. Yeah, no, we absolutely saw what was going on in the landscape with these companies basically buying out these reviews and opinions, made our own little camp with blackjack and hookers, and then they're coming in and taking over that now, too. What's next?
Pretty much. Kyle, we got to wrap up this segment. We got to wrap up this discussion, unfortunately, because we've got a long Checkpoint Radio podcast, too, coming up next. But before we let you go, are you seeing some of the same issues and ethical problems start to rise with Twitch streamers that maybe sparked action with Gamergate? Because I got to tell you, the more involved that I get into it, the more I come away thinking that there needs to be a firewall between even game streamers or game critics and the products that they're reviewing.
I totally agree, but of course the question is, where's the money? Who's getting paid? For at least for a Twitch streamer or a YouTuber, their reputation is their livelihood, and when that gets sullied, they're done for the most part. So that's a little safer than, say, a giant corporation that has multiple people that can absorb some of that blow. But if you're an individual trying to run a reputable, even if it's just for entertainment, and you're visibly lying about something, and people catch up on it and then expose you, you're kind of done. So it's a little more.
You'd like to? I think you're far more optimistic than I am. Because I'll tell you what, I find it frustrating to go into someone's stream who I thought was a friend of mine, ask him to check something out that I had just spent, the better part of 3 hours working on, and then get met with a whole bunch of like, oh yeah, can we take that to the PMs? Can we take that to the PMs? No, motherfucker, how long have I known you? You let me drop a link, you fucking asshole. And that's the thing, is that no one reacts like that unless they've got a contract that they're trying to uphold. No one reacts like that. And I'm sorry, but that is a level of bullshit in the Twitch community. Like, again, I don't have to scratch very deep to be able to find this personally affects me. All I had to say was 2 tweets to get fucking death threats. And all I have to do is ask one person that I know who's like a, medium-sized streamer to, hey, check this out. Do a thing for me. And I'm getting a whole bunch of like, I don't know, man. I gotta clear that, man.
Never had to clear it before.
Yeah, that's a strangely different tune than you were singing when you were coming to my channel for hosts. When you were coming to us to try to promote your channel. That's a slightly different fucking tune than you're singing. And I'm not going to
have a different perspective than I would, because you're on the inside seeing everything in the back, and I'm on the outside, cursory looking through everything. Listen, so it's interesting. I haven't considered that.
I mean, and the thing is that, and this is the frustrating thing, is that, I like these people, and I don't want to think of them as compromised. But now, I think that the way the video game companies, the developers, throw their money around to try to influence sentiment is fucked up. It's dirty. It's dirty. The only thing that you should be sending to people are review copies, and hey, if I get to it, that's good. But like every review code that I've ever been sent, you should see the laundry list of expectations that come along with. It's got to be finished by this date. You've got to have your review by this date. We'd like to see a proof of the review. Blah 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 blah.
One of the reasons,
fucking dude, stop jerking me off and just give me a copy of your $3.99 game, and I'll talk about it if I fucking want to.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons that I respect Penny Arcade so much. Is I remember an article they did where they basically mentioned, like, look, people try to get us to promote their games all the time, and the way that we look at it is send us your game for free, and if we like what we see, yeah, we'll talk about it, no charge at all. But if we don't like it,
you can do that if you're Penny Arcade. You can do that.
Yes, exactly.
You can do that if you're Lyric. You can do that if you're JP. Whatever. These big guys that have followings have a little bit of leverage. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just saying that the ones that don't have leverages, that have no leverage, that are desperate to be able to make it because they quit their job to be able to do streaming because it's the thing that they love to do, and now they're making backroom deals that prevent them from giving opinions about things. And if that's not exactly the same fucking thing that people were rallying around, for like, hey man, like ethics in games journalism matter, well, don't ethics on Twitch matter too? Don't ethics on YouTube matter too?
Everywhere matters.
Because when they don't, you get the adpocalypse. That's what you get. When you don't, when ethics don't matter, when there is no bar that people have to live up to, you get 4 Tostino's pizza roll commercials in a row with like a fucking Battlefront 2 trailer. And as I send you guys into these commercials, I hope that's not what I'm sending you into.
It is.
Anyway, all right, guys, that's going to be it. Thank you, Kyle, for joining us. This was a great discussion, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and again, man, just man to man, as people, I apologize for any of the bullshit that I may have projected at you, or any names that I may have called you, or any childish behavior that I may have had on display. It was an awkward time for all of us. But
no question. It was just weird seeing that people, that I play games with or enjoy are now on these different sides of the fence, and I'm just like, what happened?
Yeah,
I don't get it.
So I think that, if anything, we need to just continue the breakdown of tribalism. These little camps, that we put ourselves into, these little boxes that we end up putting ourselves into, that's the shit that needs to go away. That's the stuff that really does damage to us as people and our ability to communicate. All right, that's going to be it here for Final Encountercast today. Stay tuned because we've got the epic episode of the Checkpoint Radio podcast coming up next.
Get weird.
It's going to get weird. Get your tinfoil hats ready because it's going to be fun. If you're listening on the podcast, you can check that out already over at checkpointradio.com. While you're there, subscribe to the podcast. That's going to be it. I want to thank everyone, including Callie, because he did actually have a hand in crafting this episode. He helped us produce it today, so thank you, Callie. You are missed. As well as Kyle, our special guest. Thank you to him. And, of course, my crew, Nika, Robbie, Fat Princess. My name's Nate. Have a good one. Final Encountercast is a production of FinalEncountercast.com, Limit Break Radio, and Bender Media Productions. Today's episode was produced by Nate Bender, Callie Sloan, and Kooky Persona. This show's made possible by the generous Patreon donors of the podcast Limit Break Radio. Opening music provided by Keyboard Kid. More info and music can be found at keyboardkid206.bandcamp.com. Closing music provided by Sobsy. For more info, visit sobsy.bandcamp.com. Final Encountercast and its hosts are solely responsible for its content.